this video, we'll take a look at Carlos Ortiz, who just won on the PGA Tour. Played a great final round, including birdie in the last hole. Very cool. If you first take a look at the iron here, notice the grip, the right hand, that right finger kind of down the shaft a little bit. That's a little bit unusual. Very interesting swing in general. And he's very much of a sort of the newer wave of total face control players where that club comes through exactly on plane. So if we draw a line here, put a plane line in, we can see as he goes up here, a lot like some of the younger guys, not ultra athletic at address, and to some degree, if we even look, a little bit rounded in posture compared to some of the old days, almost looks a little bit slumped over to some degree. But as he swings, it becomes very athletic, gets it up to plane right away, and starts to drop. And we've seen that in some other videos where players do increase this spine angle or forward bend angle and start to drop downward slightly and start to get into the legs and become very athletic at this point in the swing. Much like an old Sam Snead look, or some of the older players that just sort of stood up to the ball and then hit it, and they start this club up and then get athletic on the way down. And for any of you George Gankas fans out there, he talks a lot about players that start less athletic looking and then drop down. And a lot of his players that he coaches, you can see that in their look, and they start taller and then sit down. And that club planes out beautifully already here. You can see the lower body getting open, club on plane, right arm or forearm exactly on the plane. You can see that here. Hands are on the plane, the club, everything dead on. Slightly lower than where he started, and right smack on the plane at impact and through impact. So anytime this club is tracking left with the hands directly on the plane, you're going to see a good ball striker or a great ball striker with amazing face control. And when they get it going, they'll be extremely accurate. When we look at the driver's setup, it also looks slightly different. Looks stance slightly open. If we look at the plane here, we can see this ball went slightly to the left. But once again, gets it up the plane quickly. And really, in some ways, if you look at a Fred Couples where he picks the club straight up and then starts to make an athletic move in transition, you see some of that from this young player here. This club comes up and then starts to sit, planes it out really well. And if it was to shallow slightly more at the top, you got it even closer to the plane here early on the downswing, it makes it a little easier to deal with. When that club happens to be this far from the plane and not quite, it starts to plane out and get parallel here, but it's not quite close enough to the plane like those irons, and that drives the hands off the plane a little. And if that happens, if it gets crazy high, you can get a little problem at the bottom here with the face control and get some flip in there. Here's a different look with the driver. As you can see, it doesn't look quite as classic at the address position. Takes it back and picks it up pretty good. It starts to sort of sit and turn at the same time. Not a full hinge there, but that lack of hinge can be great for hitting good drives, also great for hitting amazing wedge shots. But like most guys on tour, super flexible, able to get the hips way out in front of the shoulders and club, super cleared at impact. That is a lot of hip rotation. And of course, a tremendous amount of whip through the bottom. And all the way through. You can't get much more through a shot than that. When I watch this swing here in general, I look at a player that to me looks like he was a great junior golfer and nobody messed him up. He might have had his own way of gripping it, his own way of standing to it, and he was just so good at hitting a ball, nobody got in his way. And I think that's really good. A lot of times we can overcoach players try to change too many things, especially when they're junior golfers. But this is just the most natural move, and I think if he was to try to change a lot of things, he'd probably be in trouble, but why change it? The thing is planing out beautifully. That look there looks like a Sergio, looks like anybody else halfway down, where they're in the legs really well, very athletic, club on the plane. And this one he came up a little bit. He did come out of the posture barely, and this ball did end up a little to the right, but not much. I mean, it's literally 12, 15 feet to the right of the hole. And so on occasion, if he's up out of that posture, he will hit some pushes and hooks. But in general, this is a very, very natural player who is able to stay in routine even at the highest level, which is very impressive. Let's take one more look at this beautiful iron swing. Very much of a three-quarter look. Not a lot of hinge there. And as he brings it down, he's got a lot of lag at this point. Very different from what might be taught out there. Don't always have to do it like everyone else. As long as you know where the plane is, and as long as you have face control at the bottom of the arc, you'll be very successful. Some little things to note for his swing that would be the same for anyone is if they tend to get too much forward motion this way, that will compromise the plane. Or if he starts to go from this position here and move up out of that angle, that also can compromise the plane, a little bit of face control at the bottom. If he's in his posture, if he's rotating well, it's going to be a good week. And that natural action will be fun to watch over the years. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for Carlos Ortiz's golf swing. Thanks so much for watching. If it's your first time to the channel, please be sure to subscribe. And if you like the video, please hit that like button. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.